Are wider skateboard decks easier for flip tricks? So I saw Kevin Nice Try's video about this recently, and I've seen Leon do a bunch of videos about this. Yeah, sometimes. I have got big, thick legs, so like it's easy to flip big boards, but it's also easier to land on them because you got like more space, especially if you have a bunch of space in the front of the board, like this 10-inch board I've been skating. So I actually went down to an 8-inch board in a video, and I did this because I wanted to focus on doing flip tricks. I just felt so uncomfortable on the board though. It actually ended up being worse for flip tricks just because I didn't feel comfortable riding it. Now it could be because of the trucks. I had those Tensor Maglite trucks that I got super cheap on there. So feeling comfortable is the most important thing. And you have to have trucks that are at least tall enough you're not going to get wheel bite, and they at least turn enough that you can kind of get out of stuff. Loose trucks save lives. Now some people don't like loose trucks, but for me, I have to actually be able to turn, or I just don't feel comfortable skating fast. If I don't feel comfortable skating fast, I don't feel comfortable skating. And if I'm not comfortable, I'm not going to land tricks. So there's other factors at play here. The 10-inch board that I've been skating from Madness has a short wheelbase. That's something we see a lot lately with wider boards, like Heroine's doing that. Creature did that with the Stumps. People are making wider boards with shorter wheelbases. For me, I think the wheelbase is a lot more important than the width of the board. If the wheelbase is off, it throws everything off for me. Especially with like 360 flips, tray flips, or anything that rotates horizontal like that. It doesn't matter as much for kick flips or heel flips if the wheelbase is longer, but like 3-shove, stuff that rotates like that. I'm just not one of those guys that can skate an 8-inch board. Even 825. I mean, I can kind of skate an 825, but I guess I'm just a big deck kind of guy. Got that big deck energy. I really did want to be a small deck skater. I wanted to be an 8-inch deck skater. I really did try, and I'll probably try again. I constantly go through board madness, I'll get sick of one component of the skateboard, switch it out and switch something else out, and that'll throw everything off. I actually set the tripod and the mic up over there at the skate park, and then this single mom pulls up with 2 kids, and she puts a picnic blanket out like right next to where I was about to film my video. And I'm just playing on my phone, pretending I don't notice, and they just lay there on the blanket. I guess she's out like shopping for a stepdad or something, but that's not something I would ever be interested in. So I moved over here under the tree. I think the lighting's better anyway. They're still over there. I don't know if you can see them in the background. Probably not. I think the tree's in the way. I think my tricks look cleaner when I have a wider board or even a longer board, when I feel more stable on the board. I've got pretty good balance, but I just think having a little more room, like when you're surfing, if you're on a long board, it's easier, right? Like if you're on a stand-up paddle board, it's easier to balance than if you're standing on a 6-foot short surfboard, right? But I'm at the point where I'm gonna have to have 2 setups, because I've got the wider board with the short wheelbase that's really good for 360 flips. And then I've got the 8.5 with the longer wheelbase that's really good for manuals, really stable, good in the mini ramp. And I don't want to be in the 2 setup place. I could do everything on the 10-inch board, but I don't have that many of them. And I don't think Madness is going to exist anymore as a company with everything that happened to Dwindle. Maybe it is. Dwindle's not completely gone, but there was a $25 million buyout. A lot of their stock is gone. A lot of it's liquidated. They sold it for almost nothing, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how that works. They didn't actually completely go out. They still kind of exist. Tensor, I noticed their website's down. What do you guys think? Do you guys know more than me about this? I think I'm gonna skate. I don't think I'm putting this out on Saturday. I'm gonna do more another day because I can't think of anything to say. So I think my actual biggest problem on YouTube is I'm unorganized. So It's a problem for me when I make a video on one day and then I try to continue it on the next day because I don't even remember what we were talking about. I think we were talking about the size of your skateboard deck. One thing, I don't know if I said this the other day, I think getting like a slightly smaller truck or slightly smaller wheels makes a bigger board feel smaller. Also, if you have a really long wheelbase on the board, you can get Grind King lockers, which have like an adjustable wheelbase, so you can tighten that wheelbase and make it feel like a smaller board. Or I think, what are they called? Ventures has one truck, V8 or something like that. I think there's a Costin model of it, and that truck does the same thing. I think that's the only two truck companies out that have something like that, but I could be wrong. I might be misremembering that. Yeah, but a slightly smaller wheel definitely lightens the board up, kind of makes it feel like you have a smaller board. Right now I've got tiny wheels and tiny trucks on an 8.5, and it's actually kind of fun to flip around. So if you like this kind of content, scroll through my channel, check out my other videos, hit the subscribe button, and thanks for watching.